Happy Friday. John Lorden here with another episode of BrainScratch. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This will be the third episode looking into the death of Jessica Easterly, and we are once again welcomed to bring on some family members to talk with us about that. Let's welcome back everyone here. This is Audrey Schmidt, which is over on the right, Jessica's sister. We have Maria Antonia, her best friend, sitting in the center. And then over on the left, we have Amanda Barnes, Jessica's sister as well. I forgot to ask last time, are there more siblings?
No, this is everyone.
Okay, this is everyone. So last time we got into a lot of the information really that Maria had about what Jessica might have been going through in her relationship, really talked a lot about the domestic violence angle. And once again, just thank you so much, Maria, for sharing all that information that you did with us on that. We got up to the point right about the discovery of Jessica, and two of you were actually there. And now that I actually have you here and I can tell you person to person, let me just say, I am so sorry that you guys had to make that discovery. I'm thankful you were together. I'm thankful that your family felt like there was more that you guys could do, and you went out there and actually did it. And like I said in the first video, that helped move this case into a whole different place. And it's almost upsetting that it had to be you guys that found her. How do you feel about that? Audrey, we can start with you.
Honestly, I'm a little upset. Actually, I'm a lot upset about it. That's not the last image I want of my sister. And I just feel as though if New Orleans had searched for her, they would have found her. Or if Justin would have searched for her, then he would have found her.
Yeah, absolutely. Amanda, do you have any thoughts on this?
Angry. I was shell-shocked for probably 2-3 months. Sorry that we found her, but glad that it was with my sister and my cousin. That, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. You certainly want to have family around when you're dealing with hard things, and I can't imagine a much harder thing to deal with than finding your sister. I also think that there might be something to it that maybe you were the right people to find her. Maybe that is how this was supposed to go. But I would certainly be frustrated if I was in your shoes about, where was law enforcement in this? Why wasn't her husband out looking? Like I talked about in last episode, I think it could have been as simple as taking the dog for a walk that might have made that discovery. Now, I know that, where did you guys start searching where it was your cousin that actually noticed the scent? Is that right?
Yes, he actually, his job is to work with dead bodies, so he knows that scent.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And we went by the waterway. It's about 2.5 blocks from her house. And we went by the waterway, and he smelled something, but he didn't tell us at first. He just got out the car and was like, I'm going to go look over here. And,
he said, I'm going to go look this way. Y'all go look over that way. And I stayed by the car because I was calling Maria just to, catch her up on what had gone on that day. We were actually trying to scout for places to look for her.
Yeah.
And my sister started yelling for me, and I got off the phone with Maria, and I ran over to where Audrey was. She was out of sight at that point. And she said, I see her, or do you see that? And I'm like, no, she kept pointing at something. And at first I didn't understand what it was I was seeing. And then finally, I guess my eyes focused, or it hit what had happened, what I was actually looking at. And that's whenever we called Doug to come over, and I called 911.
Okay. Now, was this something, Audrey, that you could see from the street?
No. Actually, I know in the report it says Kenilworth and Orleans, but that was the closest streets to where she was found.
Okay. Okay. Am I correct in my assumption about it being close to those kind of railroad tracks that are behind that building at the edge of the road there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. And I know there's certain things that you guys can't go into, so just, please feel free to say that. And, for the audience, obviously there is an active investigation component that's going on to this. So we've kind of gone through the questions a little bit. There's certain things that we can and can't talk about, but one of the things I'm very curious about, and it sounds like there was some new information released. Can you tell us if she was dressed for going outdoors?
She did have on shorts and a shirt and shoes.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. And I'm just wondering about that because of the angle of, if this is something that happened in the house, could she have been in sleepwear or something like that? Like, would it have been clothing that was odd for being out there? But it sounds like it was fairly normal for the location where she was found. I don't know if you guys can really get into this or not. Is there any way to determine if she was taken to that spot after she had died or if it might have happened there? Did you get any sense about that?
Oh, we can't talk about that.
Okay. Okay. We do know that there's a vehicle. We talked about it in the last episode that they kind of shared. Do we know if that vehicle has been processed in any way by investigators?
That would be something you'd have to talk to New Orleans Police Department about.
Okay. And same thing about the house?
Yeah, you'd have to ask them.
Okay. So what actually happened to her? One of the big things in the first episode was we really didn't understand what type of injuries might have happened. Of course, we did hear at that point already that it was undetermined in terms of both the cause and the manner of death, which quite honestly, I haven't bumped into a whole lot of cases where that has been what has happened. Typically I'll hear that the manner of death might be undetermined, but for the cause of death to be undetermined also is a little bit rare, at least for the cases that I've covered. But there is an article that just came out a few days ago over at NOLA.com, and that's cause of death undetermined for Lakeview woman whose body was found in August. This was published on January 28th, 2020. According to a report, the pathologist who performed the autopsy found evidence that Durning suffered a nose injury as well as a small linear fracture in her jaw around the time she died. But the pathologist didn't address how those wounds may have been caused. The 4-page autopsy report signed January 8th showed. A toxicology examination revealed the presence of various substances, including medications, but records don't single out any as being a driving factor in Durning's death. And as a matter of fact, Audrey, you also kicked out some social media related specifically to the jaw angle, and this is pretty recent as well. And really, it's the last statement that I wanted to highlight here. Fractures or breaks in the bone are generally the result of a direct force or trauma to the jawbone.
Right.
So, of course, one of the things that we're concerned about, we talked about it practically all last episode, is this is some type of domestic violence related issue. In the first episode, I also covered that when we looked into his past, it seemed like he at least had charges for domestic violence previously. We now hear that if nothing else, something happened to her face around the time of her death that is substantial enough to break her jaw and also injure her nose. But it's got to be frustrating, you guys. I know it's frustrating me just looking into this that we can't get a firm determination on death. How are you feeling about this, Audrey? And I know you've been sitting with this for weeks at this point. How are you feeling about this?
I'm upset. I'm ready for this to. I'm ready to know what happened to my sister.
Yeah. Despite the fact that we don't have the coroner really being able to pinpoint what specifically caused her death, do you feel like you know in your heart what happened?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's just it's such a frustrating aspect of this case, because obviously we want justice in this case, and the coroner's determination is a very big and important part of that, because if this is going to some type of trial at some point or something like that, the professionals are going to be called in. And if the professionals can't pinpoint specifically, this is the cause of death, it makes it a huge uphill battle for trying to get charges there. So I know that you were pretty heartbroken initially when you heard about this report also, right, Audrey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine what my sister went through. Like, she's probably scared, and and she just had nobody. And that is just what kills me. Like, it's just.
Yeah. Well, she had someone, and it's that same someone that's putting her hand on you right now. And I know she had you. I know she had all three of you that were there. I think what likely happened was a matter of timing that was just so fast that maybe she couldn't even have had a chance to respond to what was actually happening there, outside of what she did in terms of reaching out and saying she really had to get out of this situation. And who knows how things escalated. It's there's no other way to say it. It's just absolutely terrible. And there's an aspect to it where even if they can't identify, and I'm just wondering about this, even if they can't identify the exact cause of death, if they can identify the trauma that happened and find a source for that trauma, could there still be charges around that? And I think that's maybe the direction we're going to see this case go in as it goes forward. Maybe there could be some additional analysis that, despite the fact that they can't pinpoint exactly how her life ended, we know that something traumatic happened to her, and that could still be charges in its own direction, even if it isn't, precisely a manslaughter or a murder charge. Not to mention moving a body, if that did indeed happen here, there's charges around that as well. I think there's a lot of different angles that I could see this go in that I've seen in some previous cases. But of course, I think in terms of justice, I know what I would want if I was in your guys' shoes. So I certainly feel that. So knowing that, we don't want to overshare, we don't want to jeopardize any investigative steps that are going on right now. Have you seen the autopsy report for yourself?
No, I have not. No.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about that because the press is effectively acting like they have access to it now. So it's been made accessible from someone. Someone has access to that. Are you planning on looking at that, Audrey? I know it's got to be hard.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it could give you some more insight. And, those documents, they get so detailed about their analysis. There might be some other aspect, some other wounds that they note that tell more of the story. Yeah, I would certainly, I know it's tough. And quite honestly, if you want some help with that, if you feel like it's a document you can't process on your own, I'd say reach out, even if you want me to take a look at it and relay information to you about it. However you can process it, there might be additional information in there that can help your understanding of what's going on with this. So I've seen and heard several different references made by Justin about medical issues that Jessica was dealing with. And I know we talked about medication just a little bit on the last episode as well. He has mentioned fibromyalgia, major depressive disorder, depressive bipolar 2. Is any of this true according to your knowledge? And Maria, I'm getting the sense that you have an opinion on this one.
And my face needs deliverance. Anybody in Jessica's situation would be unhappy.
She did have fibromyalgia.
Yeah, she did have fibro. I know when if the weather shifted, she would feel bad. She would want to go lie down. She was not allowed to just go lie down. That would cause a whole fight. He would yell at her, "This is not what I signed up for. All you do is lay in the bed." So, when somebody comes at you like you're an enemy combatant, no matter what you're doing, unless you're up entertaining them at all times, that's a little depressing. Yeah. So there's a difference between being depressed because you know, the sun is out, your bank account's fine, your marriage is happy, your kids are beautiful and healthy and making straight A's, but you just feel horrible all the time for no reason. And my life is a post-apocalyptic hellscape, and I don't know how to get out of it or make it stop. And this is a completely natural and logical reaction to my circumstances. And that's what we have. This is Jessica over here. Things were not peachy keen, and she just couldn't like pull herself together emotionally. She was not in a good place, and it was a very normal and logical reaction to the situation that she was enduring.
That makes a lot of sense to me, especially with all the conditions that we were talking about in the last episode. And Amanda, this is your sister. Audrey, this is your sister. I'm sure if she was dealing with some form of clinical depression, that you guys probably would have seen that throughout her life. Did you see her dealing with depressive issues, you know, years before Justin?
No.
Okay.
Like she was the girl that you turn to when you don't feel so great.
She was happy-go-lucky. She was
the pick-me-up. Like, you could always, like, you're in a bad mood, you can call Jess. Like, she's got a joke for you. She's got a funny story. She'll remind you of some stuff that you did that you're like, oh my God, did I really did that? Oh my God. We did wreck my car just having the best time driving down the beach and too busy changing the tape and like smacked into the person in front of us and whoops, like no matter what it was, like, you could have a laugh on the phone with Jess. She would pick you up. And, you know, I mean, we've all got a friend or two that's just in the dumps all the time, no matter what. It's like, here you go. She's not that girl. She was, anyway.
That's the sense that I got also. And I know it's weird because I was kind of learning about her through her writing on the blog about, you know, her romance and leading up into her wedding. And of course, we all feel real magical and special when we're going through meeting someone new and, you know, heading into a marriage or something like that. But I did get the sense that she just seemed to have a very fun personality, and it really kind of bubbled through there when she was talking about her experience. And even in that, she was mentioning her business and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So real quick, I just want to hear what's your favorite memory with Jessica? Let's start with Audrey on that. What's your favorite memory with her?
Just talking to her on the phone. She liked reality TV, so sometimes she would call me up and we'd be watching Mob Wives or Gypsy Sisters. I mean, you know, I just, you know, she was special.
Yeah, just kind of the everyday stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Maria?
Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background, I met Jessica because she was dating my best friend's older brother, because she was a couple years older than me.
Sure.
So they lived across the street, and they were, like, their dad was American and their mom was from Thailand. And there's a soup called gutio. So, and this is how old we are. I'm giving my age away here. When we had like a free couple days, because when you're in the casino restaurant industry, your weekend can be like a Monday, Tuesday. So when we would have a weekend, sometimes we would cook gutio and go rent like every Quentin Tarantino movie or every movie in a certain, we would have like a movie marathon of a certain type and just sit around in our pajamas with our hair up on top of our head in a scrunchie, because, you know, they used to be like, they're back again. I don't know why. But anyway, so we would just sit around and just like stuff our faces until it hurt and watch great movies and then go eat some more and just completely not do anything. And she could cook, like she would make like tiramisu from scratch, which I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought tiramisu just like, you know, appeared in the kitchen at Olive Garden. I didn't know you could make it at home. She could make it from scratch. And then she'd be like, I'm not going to eat this. And then, oh, darn, okay, I'll eat the whole thing.
So you guys were binging before binge watching was cool, but you were also binging while you were binge watching, it sounds like.
We made that. Because when I was a teenager, my dad threw me out, which I completely deserved. I was awful. And she had a spare room. And so she took me in. So when I had nowhere else to go, she kept me from being homeless.
Oh, wow.
And I still owe her a case of yogurt. Because I ate all of her yogurt in like one day and never contributed anything because I was 17 and didn't know how to be an adult.
Yeah.
So, and she would remind me like once a year that I still owed her a case of yogurt.
Oh, wow. Wow. And finally, Amanda, what's a good special memory with Jessica from you?
My parents, I don't remember if they were out of town, but they were gone one evening, and she borrowed their house. They knew. She borrowed their house to have a dinner party with some friends. And there were 10, 12 people over, plus me and her. And it was just the camaraderie. I don't know how to explain it. But at one point, Janis Joplin's, one of Janis Joplin's songs came on. And she started singing it.
Was it Bobby McGee?
And then one of her friends started singing it. And then it was just this group singing. And it was just very spontaneous, almost a bad 80s teenage movie kind of thing.
John Hughes.
Yeah, but
Jessica was very John Hughes.
Yeah, but it was just really indicative who she was. That was just what she did. I can't explain it. It was just the feeling.
Yeah.
Just spontaneousness of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a magic moment, it sounds like. What was also kind of magic is just asking you guys for those good, happy memories and seeing all of you light up like this. And I just want you guys to remember that you have that going forward whenever you need them. You can tap into those. And I know that for the sisters in particular, you've got some very tough memories to deal with right now, but know that she also gave you all those other warm, happy memories that you could always pull on to while you guys need them. So Nikki, a viewer, actually left a comment, and I just wanted to run it by you guys. She said that she's been in the online sex work world for over 4 years, and she does consider it a high-risk job, not only with stalkers, but between partners and lovers. There's jealousy issues, rage issues. Alcohol and drugs are a very real thing in that community. Do you think there was any aspect to the cam work stuff that is coming into play here?
I do want to say this. I think that drugs, alcohol, jealousy, rage, that's in every community. That's everywhere you look. I mean, I can understand what she's saying, but if he has that VPN that doesn't show where he's at, then that should not have been an issue, right? I mean,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose if he's using a VPN to try to protect their location. But, I know internet sleuths that can be pretty handy and can find information out different ways. A bit tougher if you don't have their real names to go by. But even with, like Google image searches and stuff, you can kind of backtrace some things like that. I don't know if that's really the case here. Did Justin talk to you guys about the fact that he thinks someone broke into the house that day and like took her out?
Justin has never talked to me. I've reached out to him many times to get his side of the story of what happened to Jessica.
Yeah.
And he has not reached out to me.
Really? No communication at all between you two?
None. But hey, you got my phone number. If you're watching this, call me.
Yeah. But Maria, you've had communication with him. Did that stop at some point?
What has been published is the entirety of my communication with Justin over 6 months of Jessica being missing and deceased. And I mean, okay, so I did, after all of the texts that I published, after that, I started getting breathy, listeny type calls from unknown number. And at this point, I already felt like I was in danger because I, in my heart, believed that he murdered my friend. And I very publicly called him out on that. And so then when the random phone calls started, I blocked the number that he was calling me from. So he never called me up until he no longer had the opportunity. And his only text seemed to be kind of like a CYA situation, and then defensive because I was sending law enforcement to the house.
Right, right. Amanda, did you have much contact with him since the disappearance?
None.
None. Okay. Well, that's got to be kind of tough because now we have this situation of dealing with a funeral, a memorial, all this kind of stuff. What's going on currently with the status of Jessica's remains?
As far as him, you'd have to ask him. We're not next of kin, so we don't know what's going to happen with the burial. We don't know any of that.
If there even will be a burial,
Right.
because there's no requirement to have a ceremony.
Right.
So you're not legally bound to honor, remember, or celebrate someone's life. Your only duty is to really make enough of a payment to get a funeral home to come and collect her and dispose of her remains as you see fit, whether that be cremation followed by a little bag in a cardboard box or a fancy coffin and then a memorial service. But since he is very publicly not in possession of resources, I don't expect him to go to any lengths, especially because a memorial service he would have to face us. Like,
Right.
he's not going to face us. He's a coward.
Yeah, yeah. It leaves this thing stuck in a really uncomfortable place because, I mean, the GoFundMe's, that's kind of the intent of the GoFundMe, supposedly, is for him to raise money to do something with her remains. I assume at this point she might be at the coroner's still.
Yes.
That has to be so emotionally tough on you guys to think about that aspect too. I mean, that's just
Gut-wrenching.
absolutely. I mean, just on a day-to-day basis. And what is the end game for that? How do you get out of that? Did you guys ever consider maybe just reaching out to him and, hey, Justin, our family's going to pull together enough money. Let's get this thing done so we can put our sister to rest?
My mother actually tried to reach out to him, but he did not take her call.
Wow.
We've been stonewalled.
Yeah. And as far as if he does have a burial or he does have a memorial service, he won't tell us. This is his little game. He has the upper hand. This is him showing us who's really boss.
Yeah, because he's still in control. It's been control.
It's a control thing.
all the way through. And now, she had the audacity to try to leave. He controlled that. And now, even in death, he's got control.
It's very hard.
That is so hard. That is so hard. And I've really been racking my brain about that. Like, how do you address that? How do you try to go around that? Is this something that you're even asking investigators about? Like, are they giving you any update on what's going on with her at this point?
We give them no peace.
Yeah.
About as much as we know right now as far as where she is or, how she hasn't left yet, that's who we're getting our information from because he's not talking.
Wow.
We're in constant contact with detectives and the coroner.
Yeah.
So
They don't have any mechanism. Like, do they have a time frame where they're like, she has to be out of here by a certain?
as long as he is making an effort and contacting them, she could stay there up to a year or more.
Wow.
My just sitting there in a cooler.
Have you considered having, or maybe you already have had a service of your own just for your family's sake to get everyone together and to try to mourn?
We are.
You are. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that is so tough.
But my mother isn't doing very well, so we have to make sure that she's okay to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess the timing is really important on all this. I don't know how you guys do it. I would be so frustrated. Has anyone had contact with him that you know of from your family at all?
No. No. And, the strangest thing is whenever Jessica was missing, we have a group on Facebook and it's just for family.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be posting her missing flyers on there. And, he would never say anything like, hey, this is Justin. Please share these flyers. Like he never did any of that. He just kept silent. And you could tell that he looked at it because how it has the little dots.
Drops.
Yeah. And it shows you who all has looked at it.
Facebook group, right?
Yeah, it's a Facebook
So he was
group.
monitoring everything on Facebook via her account.
Right.
Just very,
Is he
would never-
still using her account? Is that still going on?
No, we had it memorialized.
We had it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man. So at this point, it's really a question of how do people that are watching this video, like how do we help you and help you guys with this? Of course, I keep reminding everyone, if you have information about this case, the contact details are in the description box below. Is there a particular, I know your Twitter is kind of, at least for Twitter, Audrey, is kind of the sounding horn for this case. Is there different accounts or social media places that people should follow you guys?
Facebook is another one.
And do you want them to follow your individual accounts on Facebook, or is there one for the case in particular?
No, it's just us that sits there and puts it out as we're able to tell people publicly about stuff.
Okay.
Because of my past with my ex, obviously my Facebook account is pretty locked down, but everything about Jessica
is public,
and people are welcome to share my post. I don't know if they'll be able to comment on my post if they're not a friend of mine, but they can share it, and they're also welcome to message me directly. We received lots of messages.
Yes.
So.
Okay, excellent. So I'll have links to both of your Facebooks down below. And Amanda, I get the sense you're a little more private and maybe a little more reserved.
I am.
Okay. So yeah, we'll include the Facebooks for both Audrey and Maria in the links down below, and also Audrey's Twitter account, which we've kind of talked offline a little bit about why mainstream media might not be picking up this story necessarily. But you know what, Audrey? Keep swinging that hammer. You never know. You never know who might take it up. This case really does need that level of exposure, and it could make a significant difference. If nothing else, it could put pressure on certain people to, do the right thing in this case. So Audrey, I did notice in some of your Twitter postings, you seem to be addressing Justin directly.
Yes.
Are you confident that he's actually reading those?
Yes, I know he is.
Okay. And assuming that he is watching this video here right now, is there something you would like to say to him directly?
Don't say that.
There is.
Beep.
Yeah. Keeping in mind, I'm going to edit this.
Nothing that I haven't already said that he hasn't already seen, except for, call me. You have my phone number. I want to hear your side of it. I want to hear what it is that you have to say. If you're not guilty, like you say that you're not, then I want to hear your side of the story. I want to know why, I want those questions answered. I want to know why you never shared a missing flyer, why you never said anything in the group chat of family on Facebook. Why didn't you reach out? Why did it take you a month to contact our parents to tell them about Jessica? I mean, the list goes on. Why would you? I'm okay with them doing porn. I have, whatever. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact after she is missing, you're more worried about selling her image than sharing a missing flyer.
Yeah. And when she says contact her parents, called, ranted about himself and how everybody's just out to get him and poor pitiful him, didn't let either of them get a word in edgewise, and then the call was over.
Yes.
Didn't answer any questions. if I disappeared, my boyfriend would call everybody I know. He would be out in the front yard talking to the cops like within an hour of not being able to get a hold of me. Like,
That's what normal people do.
he would beg anybody, everybody for help, share everything, but she wasn't missing to him. She's never been missing to him. You know what I'm saying?
Put forth the effort whenever he knew exactly where she was.
Yeah. He knew.
Yeah. Well, let me also jump on the bandwagon and just say, Justin, if you are seeing this and you do think there are points that you can address about what they're talking about, I would absolutely have you come on the channel and do that as well and give you all the same courtesy that I've given to these 3 women. Please feel free to contact me, john@lordandarts.com, if you want to set that up. I'm not claiming to know all the answers in this case. And I think to their point, if you are innocent of any wrongdoing here, let's help get that information out, and let's help turn that boat around and maybe get everyone on the same page so that we can do the right things that should be happening around this case. I'm still stuck on the fact that Jessica deserves to be put to rest properly. People deserve the opportunity to come and share moments like when we were talking about those great memories that you have with her. They deserve a chance to get together and share that with each other. There's nothing like those events for hearing about stories you never knew about before, and then that little light of who that person is lights back up in everyone else. So really, if there's anything that I can do to appeal to Justin, please, let's just work this out. This is a family that you are a part of, and there is the right way to process things and to move forward to get the memorial done, if nothing else. Even if you guys stay on opposite ends of the earth, firing arrows at each other on social media, I get it. But let's do the right thing for Jessica's remains. That's really what I want to try to put out there.
Right.
Okay. Anything else that any of you would like to share before we conclude today?
Swinging back around to the domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Get help so that your family and your best friends aren't on the show a year or 2 from now.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put that where it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that totally makes sense. And let me tag on to that real quick. We had a conversation before this recording where we were talking about the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And Audrey and I had spoken before about, are there any charities that she feels like would honor Jessica in some way? And they actually thought, hey, you know what? Domestic violence charities, that'd be a great way to honor Jessica. So if you have those charities in your local area and you want to support those, you can make a donation to them. Most charities will accept you or let you do it in a way where you're doing it as a memorial to someone. Put Jessica Easterly in there. Yeah. Do a donation like that. And on top of that, on the last episode, we talked about the National Domestic Violence Hotline. If you're in a similar situation, please call them at 1-800-799-7233 or visit www.thehotline.org. They also accept donations. I've made them to them on the channel before, and today I will be making another one doing exactly that. I'm doing it in Jessica's honor. So.
There's also places in your community that is for women and children of domestic abuse, and you can actually donate clothes and soap and hairbrushes, the little things, toothbrush, stuff that we take for granted every day until we actually don't have it. Like they need all that stuff.
Yeah, what a great idea.
Baby clothes, diapers, just whatever.
Gas cards. If you can get, I don't know if you can get prepaid gas cards, but when you're trying to get away, my ex-husband used to intentionally keep my gas tank on a quarter of a tank.
Wow.
Yes. So if there's any way to get, because I know, everybody's hesitant to give people money, but if there's some way you can help somebody put fuel in their vehicle when they're ready to leave, if you can watch somebody's kids when they're ready to leave. I had a girlfriend named Susan that watched my kids for me all day on the day that I was packing up my car to leave. No questions asked. She was like, sure, bring them over. So anything you can do to help somebody leave a terrible situation, you know,
Yeah. Be a good friend. Be a good friend to them and more. Yeah. You're almost being like a sponsor at that point. You're trying to help them and help them get out of that situation.
And that's a very accurate term, because there is a level of codependence and of learned helplessness that has to go on to survive in a situation like that. So it is, because it is, you are, in a way, you're codependent. You're addicted to the 1 in 10 good moments.
Right.
When things are peaceful, when things are calm, the very rare times when you're not fighting and you can just, like, everybody just relax for a minute. Like, until you're in that sort of a hostage situation, it's really, really hard to understand. Like, when the first time we went and met with detectives, they were like, well, why didn't she just leave? And I was like, I can speak on this. Actually, I have some credentials here. And these are all the reasons why somebody doesn't just leave, because you've been told day in and day out, you don't have anybody but me. I give you everything. I provide for you. They don't care about you anymore. And, you know, you get told they don't care about you. You got nobody but me 365 days a year for, 6, 7, 8 years. You start to believe it, especially when, you don't have a lot of friends that call and text you anymore, because they're alienated by the situation you're in, and they're tired of seeing the way you've been treated, and they're tired of you not being ready to leave, because everybody else reaches their finish line with your situation way before you do.
Yeah. Yep.
So
we had you mention what you would say to Justin. I think it's just as fair to give you an opportunity to say something to Jessica. I'm sure she's watching. I'm sure she knows how hard you all are working on this. Is there anything that you'd like to say to Jessica before we finish up?
I'll never stop fighting for justice. And I love you.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I think Audrey really hit the point for everyone. Amanda? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I can tell you from what I've seen, I definitely believe in Audrey. I've got my chips in your corner on that, Audrey. I know you're not going anywhere until justice is served on this. Thank you, 3 ladies, so much for sharing all this with us. Thank you so much for your support of each other through this, and thank you for helping us understand this and get to know more about Jessica. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything you've done. We appreciate the attention and the spotlight that you've put on
domestic violence,
and and on Jessica's situation, because this has fallen on a lot of deaf ears, and we're really trying to bring attention to it, to get pressure, and to get obviously it's a very active investigation, and we do communicate with the New Orleans Police Department, and they are working very hard and very diligently, but obviously none of it's ever going to be soon enough for our liking. Like, we want justice now. We want handcuffs today. And we would skip trial and go to the firing squad if that was a thing.
It's really not like NCIS or Law and Order. It's really not that way.
Like,
right.
The more pressure, the quicker the wheels tend to turn. So while we're not saying that they're not doing their job, we would like them to feel as pressured as possible to do it quicker.
We're still at the 5.5 month mark. It's been a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially for something that seems so cut and dry. But we're hitting some hurdles here. I get that. And let me just also put out NOPD. Stay on this case, man. Please knock this out for this family. They really, really need it. We all need it. We all need to see justice in this case. And I also want to give a very big thank you to you that's watching this right now. It's because of you guys that we have this platform, because of all those good, caring people that keep coming back to watch these stories, learn from these stories, and try to help these stories. So thank you guys for being there. All right, ladies, sit tight. I'm just going to finish the show out, and I will be right back with you. So everyone, that is it for the series on Jessica at this point. If there are further developments, of course, I'm going to keep you guys updated about that here on the channel. And boy, would I love to do an episode of Case Cracked, knowing that this case actually gets solved, where we can get back to this case and talk about the amazing person that steps forward that solves it, or the piece of technology that solves it. I do hope that that day comes sooner rather than later, but you know what? I'm feeling pretty confident that that day is coming one way or another. This case needs tips called in. If you have that information, please use the contact information in the description box below and call it in. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday with a new episode of Case Cracked on the Lord and Arts channel.